Okay, YouTube, it's been a long time. Let's cover the crypto situation. Obviously, very, very bullish move. So, very quickly before I go on, anyone who wants to join the group, just go through here. It's a monthly sign up through PayPal, and if you want to pay in BTC, ETH, LTC, or BCH, it's 2 months upfront only. Go through here, sign up, and you're literally on the group for 2 months from the date that you sign up. So if you sign up today, 16th of May, whatever, you'll be on until 16th of July. Once you've signed up, just send me an email, send me the transaction ID screenshot, and then obviously you can then jump onto the group. Okay, and have a look at a few of these other things and educational videos, how I analyze the markets. Everything's here. Use that discount code F50, and obviously everything is is here. Okay, right. Bitcoin. Fascinating moves here. So let's just try to answer a few questions. So it's highly unlikely we're going to break 3.1k. Okay, this move has been very, very violent and is highly inconsistent with the behavior of a bear market. Now, in a bear market, you can get violent short squeezes, but this is not a short squeeze, not anymore anyway, and it's looking very, very violent, and so it's likely we're going to go higher. That's the first thing. So if we're not going to go to 3.1k again, obviously that would mean we're either going to go sideways or we're going to go up and go up. So sideways plus or minus up. So eventually we're probably going to break 20,000. I don't want to give any hero targets right now, like 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, but it would stand to reason if at some point we're going to break 20k. Obviously, we're going to see higher targets. For right now, the process should be for everyone just to accumulate, hold some decent altcoins, and I've covered over 15 of them in today's Facebook video if you guys want to join in, and just sit back and relax. Because if we have a look at the Google trends, the average person, Postman Pat the Milkman, who bought at 20,000, panic sold at 5k, then at 3k, they have no idea about what's going on here, and we intend to keep it that way because you kind of need retail to jump in, but towards the end of the market. So the only people who really know what's going on here are the ones who have lived through this entire bear market. So first of all, big shout out to anyone who bought anywhere up here and basically sold through all of this, because that takes a lot of guts and that takes a lot of courage, and I think anyone who held through any of this is a complete legend as far as I'm concerned. Because if that was a stock market move or a move in silver or in property, everyone would have panicked, sold here and here and here and all over the place. So I think that takes a lot of courage. So shout out to anyone who's done that. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are many people who are so strongly believing in the future of blockchain and Bitcoin that they did that. So shout out to you. Okay, now let's go into some of the moves then. So for some reason, everything seems to just magically vanish on here. I'm not too sure why. Okay, so right, so as we can see, if we look at the last pullback, basically any pullback in the last bear market was anywhere between 30% to 40%. Okay, so we had quite a few number of corrections on the way up, but none of them were significant, and if anything, any dip is to be bought. So with a bear market, you want to short the rips, and with a bull market, you want to essentially buy the dips. And even if your timing is wrong, even if you buy here, whatever, you shouldn't just panic sell, because eventually the trend is going to bail you out. So as long as you're jumping onto the trend like now, somewhere near the lows, and you're buying decent altcoins and obviously Bitcoin and Ethereum, whatever, you're pretty much going to be able to hold it for the duration of this trend, which could last weeks, months, if not years. Now, if we go into the short term, obviously looking at the futures, there's a lot of institutional money which has now entered this market, as you can see here, and at some point this gap is going to fill, but ultimately the next target on the futures will be 92.33, and then basically anywhere between 10.048 and 10.611. So maybe we'll get all the way to 10k, trap a few short-term heroes, and then it'll pull back, fill this gap, but ultimately it's going to go higher, and that's just the way this market is set up. There's a lot of institutional money. People were telling me, look, is China currency weakening, and I'm sure on some fundamental basis that is probably going on. But at the end of the day, if people are buying, the price is going to go up, and people are selling, price is going to go down. And right now it's institutional money which has entered this market, which kind of goes hand in hand with this whole final wave 5 Ponzi scheme across the zone in bonds, stocks, property, and you can now add in crypto to that as well. So yeah, any pullback through this gap is to be bought, but ultimately the trend is still strong, and we could easily go to 10k before we get any significant pullback. Bitcoin dominance is falling, which is good for the altcoins. So as you can see, as I drew a few weeks back now on my Twitter feed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, likely we'll get a pullback, maybe all the way down to this zone. This is just a correction in the dominance. I think this will be good for the altcoins during this time. Maybe we make some kind of long drawn out consolidation like we did here, and that should be good for the altcoins because Bitcoin is maintaining its value. Now let's just pull up Bitcoin again. So the way this wave has moved, like I said, I still think there's a move up towards 10,000 here, because this is still a lot of volume and there's no real divergence as of yet. The momentum is completely off the chart, and it is off the chart because, as you can see here, we're pushing on levels that are close to about 90. So that's all consistent with a wave 5, and there's no real divergence here on the MACD. So you don't want to get too clever here. The trend is clearly very, very strong, and like I said, I wouldn't be surprised, because I'm using the futures for my targets. I wouldn't be surprised if we go to 10k and then maybe we get some kind of pullback, but even then it's highly unlikely that's going to happen. With the amount of volume that's coming here to the buy side, we will need one hell of a sell-off. Like, we are talking as big a sell-off as from 20,000 all the way down to 5,000. That's the kind of level of sell-off that you would need now to basically overrun this buy volume, and that's just not going to happen. There's no way that's going to happen, or it's highly unlikely for that to happen, because obviously we're dealing with probabilities. So that's the take for Bitcoin, really. I mean, there's not much to really say other than everything's looking good. Now we'll cover Ethereum here. So Ethereum, I mean, these targets have been here for quite a while. Obviously this was kind of lagging behind, but it's now getting a move on, and it's kind of like silver. If Bitcoin is gold, Ethereum is like silver in the sense that it's more like a leveraged Bitcoin, so it tends to produce slightly higher percentage moves, as you can see in the last few days. So it's kind of reached this sort of supply zone here between 273, 296. If it breaks through this, when it breaks through this, the real challenge will be here at $361, which obviously is a very strong resistance zone, okay, because that was resistance, now support, and it's never been tested, so it's going to come all the way back down again. So I wouldn't be surprised if it runs into some kind of resistance here. But once again, be very, very careful shorting, okay? I've been saying it for the last month and a half on Twitter when Bitcoin was at 5,000. Whatever you're doing, don't short into this, because you're just going to get run over. There's just too much volume here to the upside. So logically, we're going to hit this, might do a bit of this, but ultimately we are going to break it. And I'm looking for a target on Ethereum of $392 to $455. But yeah, looking very good. So great time to be joining the group, and respect to anyone who's been holding throughout all of this, because I think that takes a lot of courage. So good on you, frankly. Okay, so that is Bitcoin basically. I'm not sure what else I need to update on. I mean, we can have a look in the market cap. Let's just pull up the old market caps. As you can see, the altcoins are now catching up. So the next target for the altcoin, so it's basically hit this target. Nice psychological number. The next target, I would be aiming for these swing lows here at probably 1125 billion, and then ultimately, eventually, we are going to end up challenging this at 268. Now 268 seems like, well, it seems like a long way away, and it's not going to go there in a vertical line, but eventually we are going to slowly, do something like this, and we are going to slowly make our way towards that higher target at 266. But yeah, like I said, first target 155, maybe even these swing highs after that at 161 billion. Now, looking at the total market cap, I mean, this is fascinating because this is basically just gone absolutely, berserk mode here. And if you just pull up the 50, it's already at the 23.6, which in itself is quite an amazing feat. I mean, the 50s here at 407, so that would be your next logical zone for the market cap to hit. And then eventually you have to start asking yourself, if Bitcoin isn't going to go back down again, it's going to go either sideways or up. Obviously, we are going to eventually hit 714 billion. And if we just continue to run that through, I see no reason whatsoever why eventually, like I said, it might take a few more months, might even take until the end of the year, whenever, I can see Bitcoin basically getting to a $1 trillion market cap. And then we're talking some serious moves here in Bitcoin. We're not just talking, oh, it's a bit of a speculative punt, it's a bit of a Ponzi scheme. We are talking about a serious asset class here that is now almost the new gold, because gold has got a market cap of like $7 trillion. And if Bitcoin can get to $1 trillion market cap across the altcoins and Bitcoin, we're basically talking about a serious market cap here, and that is going to bring even more people to the game. I mean, maybe eventually we might have mini contracts on Bitcoin futures, we might have micro contracts, there might be a dividend, there might be earnings, I don't know, maybe we'll get an ETF, maybe we'll do everything that a stock has, maybe we'll get a Vanguard altcoin ETF, I'm not sure, but we're going to get a lot of things here. This is definitely an area to be involved in, I think. Even though I don't really understand the fundamentals that well, I think it is a fascinating area, and it all fits inside this basis about we're in this final wave 5 across the board. So it looks as though everything is going to collapse all at the same time. Stocks, bonds, crypto, and properties. That's going to happen in the next 5 years at some point. So, but before any collapse, everything has to go vertical, and likely we're going to get that. If you have a look at the old yield curve. Yes, at 22. Yeah, so fascinating times. I think the next 5 years are going to be 5 years no one's ever going to forget. And where's that dollar? 97.5. I did think this would provide some resistance to Bitcoin's move, but yeah, fascinating times. We're going to get a massive dollar move, everything is going to go up, and then eventually it's all going to end in a terrible, terrible, terrible way. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there because I'm just rambling now. So yeah, I'll wrap it up there. Good luck to whatever you're doing. Respect to anyone who's held Bitcoin through all of this. And follow me on Twitter, whatever. You can follow us on the group, and I'll try to do YouTube videos whenever I can. And let's just cover the stock market very quickly here as well. I mean, I'll do a proper video on this at some point. But basically, with this stock market, as we know, the long-term count is this is the start of the wave 5. We're going to go to 4,200 on the SPY, and we're going to go to 43,000 on the Dow Jones. So the 43 is all the way up. I mean, it's all the way up here. So we've got a ways to go. So go in May, come back St. Leger's Day, might do a bit of this nonsense and just form a bit of a flag. We're not going to retest these lows, so don't that's highly unlikely. That's going to be a 1, a 2, 3, or 4, or 5, and then we'll see what happens, because after that it's going to be this basically. So yeah, good luck. But yeah, short term. So I mean, trying to count this in real time is a very, very difficult job, very, very difficult. But with the ES, I think we could get a break here to the upside. It looks as though it wants to break this trend line. So I would say short-term lows are in, but I'm running this as a counter wave correction, probably towards this large volume node or this 50% fib at 2890. Then we get another push down, and on this push down, that'll be the opportunity for everyone who's missed this entire bullish leg to then jump in. And as you can see, a lot of these stocks, like the FANG stocks, they have corrected at least 38.2, and I think on this pullback that'll be a good opportunity to then jump in ready for this break. And I can see us breaking 3,000 by the end of this year. And like I said, we're going to go much higher over the next couple of years. And Bitcoin is leading everything. So if Bitcoin makes new highs, it's just a matter of time before the stock market makes new highs, because Bitcoin is leading everything. Bitcoin led the market down, led the market back up, and now it's going to be the first to make all-time new. Probably, I would say, well, yeah, okay. I can't say for sure if Bitcoin will make all-time new highs first, but certainly the way it's going, it does appear Bitcoin will make all-time new highs before the market does. However, doesn't really matter, but there is some correlation there, which I still think is important. So yeah, everything's looking very bullish, as we've shown here. No one really knows about what's going on, and that's okay. They're going to have to FOMO in at 10k or higher. Anyway, I'll wrap it up there.